So you've helped, is it over 750 companies now, which is, I'd love to get there one day, I guess.
But it's
And
over 20 years, right?
well, it's still very, very impressive. So what would be your advice for a company that wants to start and grow in China?
For me, starting and growing is two different phases. The starting phase is the foundation phase, right? So it's understanding what are your goals and objectives in China, right? And nowadays, I kind of want to spread China also into other regions because companies do have or are starting to have an APAC objective and goal, which does entail China, but also entails Southeast Asia, might also entail Japan and Korea. So I think it's really creating these goals and objectives. What do we want to achieve? And obviously that entails creating a forecast, a budget, doing market research, understanding these markets, and then most importantly, understanding what are your financial resources, right? The amount of companies that come to me and say, I want to go to China, but actually we don't have money. We want everything free of charge. I mean, it's not going to happen, right? The investment that you have to put into China is big, and you do need to have the financial resources available to make that type of investment and to have a really good go at it. And again, this comes down to knowing partners that can help you find these deals.
Yeah.
Like I said, unless you know where to look, you might not know that you can get rental-free periods on office rent,
Yeah.
right? But again, let me add a bit of a disclaimer because I think people sometimes forget about this. These preferential treatments are not forever, right? These are preferential treatments for today. And if you're making your business plan for today, you'll benefit from them. If you're making your business plan for 2 years, I have no idea if these preferential treatments will still exist. This year alone, there are several what we used to call preferential zones. One of them is Qinghai in Shenzhen, offering preferential tax rates that will be revoked this year, right? So there are development zones which are saying, we gave you preferential treatments for up to 10 years. We want now to get back to the standard, and we're going to now increase the rates, right? So also choosing locations based on these preferential treatments, great for today. Will it be beneficial to you, I don't know, in 5 to 10 years' time? I have no idea. Nobody can actually tell you that. Not even government officers can tell you that because probably in 5 to 10 years, they're not working in these bureaus anymore, right? So we're talking about Hainan. Just to highlight, these are preferential treatments for today. If we're talking about Lingang or other zones in Putuo that are offering rental-free prices or benefits on tax, that is for today. Who knows how long these will last?
Yeah, it's a really great point. So I wanted to ask you about how to use WeChat effectively as a business tool, because I get a lot of clients coming to China and also clients currently in China, and they're really not using it very effectively.
Well, I think, first of all, WeChat is a standard tool. Everybody who's doing business with China needs it. You got to keep in mind that, I'm in Luxembourg right now. The standard tool I use is WhatsApp for communication. WhatsApp is blocked in China, right? So WeChat is the tool if you want to be able to communicate. Make sure you got that downloaded. You do need a friend to authorize you so that you get accepted into this world of WeChat. But once you are set up, it is also your networking tool, right? So where you save contacts into your contact list on your phone, you're now saving contacts into your WeChat app and connecting with people in your WeChat app. I've got over 500, 600 people in my WeChat. People I've connected with since I ever downloaded it. Obviously, I'm not in touch with every single one of those people, but there are people who I'm in touch with on a daily basis through that. And absolutely, it's a tool I use because it's a way that my staff can communicate with our clients that are abroad. So it's something that I encourage all of our clients to utilize. The only thing with WeChat that I will add into this is the dangers of it, which is it's a personal app. So WhatsApp, you've got two actually different apps. You've got WhatsApp personal. I mean, they don't call it that, but you've also got WhatsApp business. WeChat doesn't have that function. It's a personal app. When you are connecting people, you are talking from you as an individual to another person who's an individual. You might just so happen to be working for XYZ company, but what happens if you change jobs? And what we're seeing in the accounting profession is that a lot of sensitive material is being passed through these personal accounts related to the company. Similar to the data protection laws, if you're protecting your data, be very clear on how you're going to protect that data on WeChat. And definitely set guidelines on that.
Yeah, it's a great lesson, great advice, because I've worked for a few companies here in China, and you have to protect your privacy as well, and sensitive information. It's something, any app, it could be WhatsApp as well. So I want to change a little bit the direction. I want to talk a little bit about the kind of business landscape in China when it comes to the consumer market. So consumer trends, digitalization, Gen Z, buyer behavioral trends. So where do you see the opportunities right now?
So I think that there are different generations that are going to be purchasing. If I look, and I'm just going to now look at my staff, just as my area of visibility into what they're doing. If I look at my staff that are in the ages between 40 and 55, the older generation, they are basically saving every single penny because they're in the mindset of, I'm near retirement and I've got to save maybe money for education for my children. Who knows where they're going to go, whether they're going to stay in China or travel abroad. Now that borders are open, my team want to travel. So I also see this older generation saving up for traveling and trips and whatnot. The younger ones are loving to spend. And obviously that's looking at the millennials who've got this spending power available to them. You've got the Gen Zs who are also spending. And the tendency is to spend on high quality products. I do think, however, people are still price sensitive, and everybody is taking this into account. So although there is this generation that is spending, I think everybody is still price sensitive. I was in Frankfurt 2 weekends ago. You cannot imagine the line outside Louis Vuitton. There were probably about 30 people, 80% of which, I'm not going to say mainland Chinese, were of Chinese descent, already holding shopping bags that were enormous from Gucci, Prada, waiting in freezing cold temperatures outside. The staff of Louis Vuitton coming out with coffee cups to keep them warm, which I thought was phenomenal. But, I realized when I was watching them is when they go back to China, they're going to apply for the VAT refund. Right? Borders are now open. People can now travel. These Gen Zs and millennials are going to start going abroad. So I think a lot of people need to also look at their strategies and say, how do we market in Europe for the Chinese? And how do we market in China for the Chinese? I think this has to be an addition for 2024, purely from this perspective that I saw a couple of weekends ago. And it's things also where you're promoting in China what you're doing in Europe to get them to your stores, whether it be in Paris, London, Frankfurt, wherever else in the world it might be, right? Because I think they're shopping in both places. I think now that you can travel abroad, though, they're going to take advantage of that VAT refund before they go back to China, right? Because the prices will be lower. So I think that's the sort of trend that I'm seeing right now. Social media marketing, any form of marketing, has to be geared towards these Chinese, these millennials, these Gen Zs. Not just for China, but also for buying in Europe when they come to Europe.
In December, I was in the UK and I was traveling all these tourist sites in York and Cambridge and Oxford and even London. Most of the audience, most of the visitors were Chinese. And I would speak to the marketing manager or speak to the boss of the museum or art gallery or whatever it was, and said, look, where's your marketing for China? Well, we don't really see it as a priority. They're in the gift shop right now. They're buying, right? No one else is. And they're filming videos, they're live streaming, they're taking photos, they're giving you free marketing, putting it all over Little Red Book or WeChat, Douyin. And do you not see that? Oh, yes, we see it now. So it's these kind of platforms, and your Thrive in China series is a really great example of that. It's putting a spotlight on what brands or companies from any industry don't quite see. So I think it's a really great point that you make, to really understand that the Chinese audiences, Chinese consumers, they buy. And it's also interesting you mentioned about being price sensitive. I was working with a cosmetics brand last year, and they didn't quite understand that. They were quite tough on the price. They wanted to stick to their sort of, let's say, UK price, and they weren't going to budge. And I said, well, if you just knock off another 50 RMB, even 100 RMB, you may need to do that just to budge the market. If you love the Panda Profits and you watch this channel, please show some Panda love and become a part of the growing number of viewers on this channel that have hit that subscribe button. It helps a lot, and the bigger the channel, the bigger the gets.